that I have skipped all the suggestions for deep dives in order to fast track Rebekah Brooks. And that is because I had a feeling with all of the court cases coming up for Prince Harry that knowing the backstory on Rebekah Brooks, her time at News of the World and The Sun, and the larger phone hacking scandal was going to come into play. This opinion piece by Clive Irving just dropped for the Daily Beast. It's also in Yahoo. Prince Harry may deliver the next huge blow to Murdoch's empire. We're just going to ignore the fact that the graphic they went with kind of looks like they sprayed Cheese Whiz on his head. I don't get it. And I think this is a good article because it gets us back to the point of all of this. Most tabloid outlets are focusing on Prince William's deal and the fact that he may or may not have allegedly donated it to charity. That's not the point here. And they don't want to talk about what this case could actually mean for their industry. Because as I'm going to show you in a later clip from a documentary, there are a lot of signs to point to the fact that the media has not quite learned their lesson from the 2012 hacking. They have just evolved their practices. Listen, Prince Harry does not dress for women. He does not dress for men. He dresses for revenge on one Rebekah Brooks. For she got off scot-free when it came to phone hacking that happened under her watch that she somehow didn't know about. Please go back and watch my 2-part series on Rebekah Brooks. I promise you it's worth it. And here's the really important part. NGN has always contended that the hacking and illicit blagging of personal material was limited to News of the World. It did not include the top-selling Daily Sun. And the thing that Prince Harry and other victims are claiming is that it was more widespread than just News of the World, which could have huge implications for Murdoch's empire. I'm not naive enough to think this is going to totally take down his empire, but a girl can dream, okay? Here's another doozy. A person familiar with the case says there's evidence of destruction of emails and hard drive, documents, etc. from newspaper offices. Quote, some of the evidence found in discovery includes revelations about collusion between the journalists and the Metropolitan Police. Now recall the Levinson Inquiry of 2012 stopped short of doing a part 2, which was supposed to include a closer look into the police connections to journalists and potential corruption. Which seems like something they should have looked into considering this 2003 statement that Rebekah Brooks made during a hearing for a House of Commons committee.
Do you ever pay the police for information?
Yeah. We have paid the police for information in the past, and it's been...
And will you do it in the future?
It depends on...
We operate within the code and within the law, and if there's a clear public interest, then the same holds for private detectives, for subterfuge, for video bags, whatever you want to talk about.
It's illegal for police officers to receive payments.
No, we don't. As I said, within the law.
What's interesting too about this case is while they are claiming that hacking did continue at the Sun under Brooks, she's running the litigation on this because she still works for the company. So she has her own very personal interest in this, but also is deciding the legal strategy. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. Quote, Harry's refusal to settle out of court, as thousands of other hacking victims have done because they lack his kind of wealth to support protracted litigation, means that damning documents uncovered during discovery would suddenly be made public in court. This is about exposing them. This is about doing for victims what they could not. And I think perhaps there is a conversation that could be had at some point about Prince William's secret agreement that he took in 2020 and what he has done and said about the media since then. But that is really not what this is about. This is way bigger than something that happened 20 or so years ago. This has continued on, these bad journalistic practices, which naturally tabloids want to act like was a one-off thing, an aberration, as Camilla Tominey put it in her royal appointment this week. Let's watch this clip from the BBC documentary, The Princes and the Press.
For decades. Just talk us through what happened then.
First, they gave me 4 names, and they were all Markle. They wanted Meghan Markle. They wanted full background on her. They wanted a half-sister or a sister.
Samantha Markle.
And her mother and father. And then later on, they sent me another 4 names, and it was like 2 of the guys were ex-boyfriends, and at that time I was a licensed private investigator. So I could get their full social security numbers, their dates of birth, every address they ever lived at, who their neighbors were, everything.
The Sun say they made a legitimate research request for contact details for Meghan Markle and possible relatives, for which Mr. Hanks was paid $250. Can you just explain what's legal and what's illegal about the way you access those private databases?
You have to log in as a private investigator to get all those details. Now, if you log in as a private investigator, but you're reselling the information to a member of the news media, that's not legal. That's going around the rules.
But just to be clear then, so what you did for the Sun on the Markles, what you did was illegal and you knew it to be illegal.
Yeah, I did, but I didn't really think about it.
He's talking about work he did for the Sun. At the earliest, that would have been 2016. Bad media practices are still ongoing. They are just getting smarter. That is the story here. And whatever you think of Prince Harry, and I really don't care what you think about Prince Harry, so you don't need to tell me, this is a brave move. It is a costly move, what he is doing. It is something that he is in a unique position to do. And my guess is his mother and the way she was treated plays a big part in it. How he was treated, his brother, his family members, his wife, and all of the victims, like Millie Dowler, other celebrities, etc. What makes someone like Prince Harry dangerous to the Murdoch Empire is he's not in it for the money. And they may not be able to pay him off for his silence, especially if it doesn't include an apology and some sort of public admitting to what has gone on in his newspapers. Again, this is not about Prince William taking the money and handling things differently. I think you could actually look at both people and understand where they're coming from, even if you don't necessarily agree with them. You could say Prince William did what was in the best interest for his nuclear family and for his future as king. Because unfortunately, I do not know if he sees a way to redesign this relationship with the media. A lot of evidence points to the fact that he's going to follow in his father's footsteps in that regard. And this is not an easy thing. It is not easy to take on the media and this relationship that's been forged. But at the same time, you can also understand and respect Prince Harry for deciding that in his position, he can take on the media. He's laid everything bare in the book Spare. Anything that comes out in Discovery, he's ready for. He is in a unique position to tackle this issue in one small way. He could actually deliver a devastating blow to Murdoch's empire. And who doesn't want that?